Okay, all yours.
All right. I'd like to call the IT Executive Steering Committee meeting to order, Monday, March 9th at 2:02 p.m. I'd like to inform everyone that Sean Driscoll, the authority's communications director, is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. If anyone else is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting, please identify yourself by pressing the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you're joining by telephone, by pressing *9 on your keypad. And when you are recognized, please state your name for the record.
Don't see anybody.
All right. Next, pursuant to Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 as amended, Peter Jeffrey, John Cahill, Rob Rainey, and Gordon Carr are all participating remotely in today's meeting because their physical attendance today would be unreasonably difficult. Because of this participation, all members will be clearly audible to each other, and all votes will be taken by roll call vote. All right, and I guess before we open it up to public comment, I've identified all the committee meeting members. Alex, if you'd like to identify who's there for management.
Yeah, on our side, we have Mark Rosem, Mark Amundson, Stephen Coleman, and Tom Ennis.
All right. And I also see that newly appointed board member Ted Gavin is also attending today's meeting virtually.
Great.
All right, and with that, I will open it up to public comment.
Sure, if anyone has public comment at this time, just hit the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard. And seeing none.
All right, seeing none. The next item was the approval of the minutes, but I didn't get a copy of the minutes prior to our meeting. I don't think they've been distributed yet. So I would say let's table that item for the next meeting, and we'll move straight into project updates.
Okay. So, want to go over the preliminary budget for the project?
Am I driving, Mark, or are you driving?
Can you drive?
Sure.
You're a better driver than me.
No comment, stand by. Okay, you can all see that?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so on the next slide, we parsed the project into different pieces. So in going reading the columns off, we have what the total estimated budget amount is for the line item, whether it's capital, operating, how the expense will hit the income statement, hasn't been ordered, and where's the progress of the project as a whole. So for the first part, it's the ADIA reservation system, which was approved by the board. The contract amount was just under $5.8 million. This will be an operating expense in accordance with GASB 96. We were talking with our audit firm last week while they're on site doing our 2025 audit. It's a right to use asset. So we will, all the capital costs, the conventional capital costs for the implementation will be added into the cost of the lease and be amortized over the term of the right to use software. So it'll be similar to how depreciation would be, but it's just going to show us amortization on the income statement versus depreciation. As we all know, it's been ordered, and from previous meetings, as we're all aware, that it's in progress. Any questions? Yep.
If I could add, is the total budget for this item going to be felt in 1 year's budget, or is it broken down over 2 years?
It's going to be broken up over 5 years. So there's roughly $2.5 million of implementation costs, and then there's $3.4 million worth of software costs that'll be split up over the life of the next 5 years.
It would be helpful when you move forward with presenting this, at least to the board. And I know we said we wanted a overview, but to be able to break down that cost per year to the operating budget.
Oh, 100%. I can do that. And if time permits at the end, I'll give the breakdown of what the estimated software license cost will be per year.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else have a question?
No, that was my question too, Peter. Thank
And
you.
then there'll be a slight difference between the cash flow on that versus what's going to be recorded on the income statement, because with a subscription software, we put it in as a liability and an asset, a right to use asset, and then you have an amortization expense and an interest expense as compared to conventional depreciation. The systems integration portion, we have the bulk shippers portal of 733,000. That's, as we talked about in the past, moving the bulk shippers reservations that we do now into the IDEA system. So that's in progress. I believe the spend so far is about $650,000. We're expecting about 10% more for the final phase. We will own that piece of software, so that'll be depreciation. It has been ordered. It is in progress right now. Data migration. Oh, sorry.
Just in terms of kind of future presentation on this as the dashboard to this committee and the Port Council and board, I'd also find it helpful, especially if it's been ordered, and also obviously these thresholds are being approved by the board for procurement. If we could list the contract number, if it's been approved.
Yep, we can put the contract number and how, or if it was an SOW, whatever it may be. And then like goal in the future also, that now we've gotten the expense and the status, is to show what percentage of spend on each line item is.
That'd be great.
I couldn't fit it all in one sheet, so it wouldn't be readable. But going forward is going to have the spend as well.
May I make a comment, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Mark Rosum, do you want us to hold off till you've gone through each of these slides, or do you want us to stop you at each line item?
Well, if it's up to you guys, I can either go down the list of all the system integrations and answer questions then, or we could do line by line. It's up to you guys how you want to handle it.
Well, I'll default to you, because it might be easier for you.
All right, so how about I go down the lines and maybe some of these are integrated with each other? I might answer some of the questions as we talk, and then we can take the systems integration as a whole, if that works for everyone.
That works for me.
That works. I'll stop interrupting you.
No, this is valuable feedback. Thank you. So the data migration, that's what we're talking about, moving over the coupon books, accounts receivable, things of that nature from the existing system to the new system. There's a different way they're handling accounts. It's going to be email based versus profile number. So that'll be a change, and that's an estimate. But feel a lot of that will be handled inside of some of Dave Cox's current contracts with SaberTech. The travel alerts and notifications, that was approved by the board. And that's the process of getting out the alerts and notifications for the customers who don't have reservations. So if you have, say, people who are going from Falmouth Academy who don't have a firm reservation but want to know what's going on a day-to-day basis for commuters, so that's getting those alerts out. The accounting system integration, that is an SOW. We anticipate that being under 100,000. It was a range from 82 to 100,000 for the work. And that's making the integration to automatically talk from the reservation system to our accounting system, where we don't manually have to bring those transactions over. Website integration, that is configuring the IDEA system to talk with the website that was on the shelf. As an FYI, we had a very nice demo of the website to be launched, and how it was coming together and how the booking engine is in there right now. And so we're expecting to show that in the near future of how that's looking and coming along. Standby integration, as we talked about at the policy meeting last week, I believe it was last week, that IDEA doesn't have a standby like we do. So we need to have a mechanism and how to show what that standby weight is on our website. So it's still defining where is that data going to be generated from and how is it going to get to the website. So most likely, right now, thought is that it might be coming from the shipper's portal. So that portal is more encompassing than just the shipper's portal, but it acts as almost a dissemination of information to different places. And then we have the IT staff support and augmentation, which was approved at last month's board meeting. So that's to help Stephen's team to get this project over the finish line. So some of the items that we have that are going to own the software, that's capital. And the items that it's a right to use software, such as the accounting system, those will be operating.
John?
Mark, the data migration, who's managing that? Could you speak more to it?
Sure, I'll take a stab, and then if someone else from the IT wants to fill in if I missed a piece. So the data migration, we're still identifying which my data is going to be coming over. So we have coupon books, such as the auto coupon books, the passenger coupon books. We need to bring that data over. We have accounts receivable customers. We have that over. Those all reside in the reservation system. And so we need to work with the D and find out how do they want to receive it, in what format, and then get it from our format and bring it over to their format.
But who's doing that work? Is my question.
That'll be SSA along with David Cox, and if Stephen or Tom want to jump in case I'm missing anyone.
Yeah, so John, that was assigned to an internal resource within IT. His name was Mark Thompson. It has recently been shifted to an individual by the name of John Nilsson. He's also an IT developer.
And
It's under my responsibility.
David Cox's relationship is how much of this figure of 33,000?
Is that number?
That is him. The rest will be internal.
He works by the hour.
Right, okay. It just seems low.
Yeah, so what the reason it's low is because we anticipate using him more as a subject matter expert rather than hands-on. So we're trying to reduce reliance upon him as best possible.
Okay.
And John, one of the things is when we're cutting over in the date is that trying not to have reservations from the old system coming to the new one, where if you're booking a round trip, it's got to be a one-way in the old system and a one-way in the new system, for example. Then the open tickets would just come over as a voucher, not a firm date and time.
Yeah, I just want to comment that we all know how fragile the existing reservation system is, and no documentation on that. And we don't know yet exactly what our list of functions and features or data we want to bring over. It just seems low. But maybe we'll get another chance to look at it. I got another comment. I'm okay with what you got there today, but
John, before you move on, I'd like to add further context.
no, sure.
So the IT support staff augmentation contract, I anticipate spending from that to make up for anything that the 33 doesn't cover.
All right, that's good lead into what I was going to ask next, Stephen.
Yep.
What is augmentation to you guys? What does that mean to you guys?
Where we have either constraints or limitations,
Yeah.
they will make up for that.
Okay.
So the good thing about IntraSystems for that SOW, they can draw from a much deeper bench than we can. And if in fact, even if they don't have on hand in this project the subject matter expertise, they can find it and bring it in.
Okay. Last question, I promise, for the moment, is going on to the next slide, which talks about third-party software. Below that, project management. Is that another augmentation section to help fulfill the IDEA reservation system? this
Yeah,
change management?
I'm assuming you're talking about the IT PMO portion. We don't have it on our screen, so I'm not sure. I don't want to speak out of turn.
Actually, I was referring to the change management and support. And I don't want to go too far ahead of you, Mark Rosen, but
Yeah.
that's a big number of 442. Was that being utilized as well to help with some of the augmentation that you might experience?
Yeah, so that is being used primarily. That's with Gibbous right now.
Yeah.
442 is both augmenting our operations team, helping with the policies, the change management, testing, developing the system. That's what's in that 442 there, augmenting not the IT staff, but the other staff as a group.
Okay. All right, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Rob or Gordon, I have a couple of questions, but do either of you have any?
No, Mark covered a couple of ones that I had in his explanation of the line items, so I'm good.
I got more of kind of a question moving forward or a comment moving forward. As I said, it'd be helpful on this dashboard to identify it when it's been ordered, the actual contract or statement of work and a link to it so that we could pull it up. And then when we move forward on this, kind of seeing where are we in meeting are we in meeting that budget, actual versus what we've spent, really wanting to get all the information this committee can have, as well as the board and board council, to keep on top of change orders or preventing change orders from happening so that, this budget doesn't start creeping.
So, Peter, my goal for the next presentation would be to eliminate capital operating expense, et cetera, putting what the original budget is, what the spend is, what the change orders, and the new estimate.
Right. And then also in terms of asking for, the contract statement of work being identified, identifying who is the owner within the steamship management for that particular contract, the oversight for that.
Okay. Any other questions on this slide?
There you go again.
You
Absolutely.
said you were done, John.
I know, but you brought up some more good ideas. In the contract we have with ADIA, we wanted to get off the shelf software as best we could. And in the industry, it's usually 80-20 rule, as I like to see it, is that we're going to get 80% of the functionality and 20% will be customized. Is that 20%, I'm speaking in general numbers, already embedded into the fees for ADIA, or is there an additional consulting fee that ADIA will charge us for making it more in line with the needs of Steamship Authority?
A lot of it is embedded in the contract because we had a very robust RFR with the items that we're looking for. There's one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, is that we may be subject to a change order. We've been talking about it on the standby, on Nantucket.
Yeah.
But most of all the other items are either a configuration or in scope.
So do we need another line item here that talks to custom work for ADIA that they're doing, or just?
I mean, we could separate it out. I mean, it's in their original proposal. The apologies, I don't have the exact number, but I want to say it was approximately 300,000 of that number was a number of different customizations that they were planning based on, as Mark said, the original procurement. And so they have not come back to us as being outside of that original estimate. Um, the I mean, one thing to note is that the where there may be a slight difference in cost is they had incorporated into that cost an estimate of the hosting cost and for the cloud hosting, and so there's a chance that that is that's going to be directly billed once the contract actually once the hosting begins. And so that may cause some a little bit of difference in what their plan number is. But that'll be because that's hosting costs, that'll be cost that's paid to ensure the uptime and speed that we've been looking for.
My recommendation, I'll leave it up to the team here as to how we go forward, but I would like to be able to track how well we're doing with our customization, what's embedded in their contract, what, are we at, let's say if the number is 300,000, are we at 150 or are we at 450? This is something, in my experience, that can sort of blow up if it's not managed well. So it might be good to have a separate line item that talks to, I don't know what the right words are, but customization fees. Because at some point, as we get into the fall, we're going to make some decisions as to what are we going to go live with, and that'll be governed, I think, a lot by how much have we spent in customization already. I just don't want it to be unknown. Anybody else have any comments about that? I guess not.
Well, is there a top end to that? Mark, is there some?
Yeah, so anything over $100,000, we have to bring to the board for approval. Okay, as a change order. And then if we want a lower threat, and if there's a policy change or something like that, we would bring it to the IT steering to discuss if it was something that's going to take that much customization to do. Because if it's that much customization and we haven't addressed it, it means it's most likely probably a significant policy change. And
Go ahead.
No, and if the IT steering committee wants a threshold to come to them about any customizations or additional configurations, customizations costs, we can prior to executing.
I guess my thought would be, I think this committee should know about all of them. Anytime there's a cost to it, I don't want to be in the position where it's death by 1,000 paper cuts or death by 1,000 change orders to the budget. And being as transparent as possible that, suddenly, we're having change orders of $3,000 to $5,000, but suddenly they add up to $65,000. I don't want the public to be taken off guard by that. I don't want the board, the port council, or this committee. And so I guess I'd rather have us push back and say, no, Mark, you're giving us too much information than not be aware.
Okay, so going forward, the first slide, I'll just have the ADIA reservation system on its own. Look at a way of capturing John's customizations, but also listing all the change orders individually for the ADIA system.
Great.
But what I did hear is that right now, as it exists, what is that number for customization? Is it 300,000?
Yeah, I looked it up. So they had come back with a customization of 352,000.
Yeah.
And then that's itemized in the budget. So it was some of the bigger items were things like the My Account, some of the enhancements we had asked for with the white label, and then some things around the business intelligence analytics. And then other than that, it's actually relatively small changes. I guess sorry, I'm just looking at it. The one other was just some enhancements to the tickets, what we're looking for in terms of maintaining a similar ability to do tickets as today. So things like the RFID, the near field, that sort of thing.
And I don't mean to be picking apart on this, but I just think we got to be clear. That number of 352,000 is already in that 5.7 million.
Yes.
Yes?
Yep. If Sean, if you stop sharing, if I can find where to share my screen, I can bring up the payment here.
And Mark, if I can ask just kind of clarifying question with kind of going along with what John's saying, there's customizations we're asking for that are already part and parcel of the current contract that do not require a change order, that are part of our budget. Is
That
that
are incorporated into their pricing.
okay? So that wouldn't, these customizations we're talking about, we have included it in our budget.
Yes, that's in their bit. Yes, the customizations from the
So
RFR.
I would like when you report that out, I would definitely want to know the difference between a customization that falls under the RFR and the current budget versus one that would require a change order and go an increase in the budget.
And
Okay.
Peter, if I can add on to what your train of thought is, what I'm hearing also from Tom is that number has already been outlined with what features and functions they're going to work on. So anything new that is discovered as we move from now into August, September, October is in addition to that 352. Is that correct statement?
Yeah, I think that would be correct. So the 352 was we had, just as a reminder, so we'd asked the vendors to state for every requirement, and remember there was about 700 of them, to say, was this already in their existing product? Was this something planned for their product, or was this a specific customization? And then we asked them for the things that were a customization to itemize in their pricing response what was going to be the cost of that customization. And so that's how we got to the 352. So the so there have been only a few things that um, that needed to be further identified from the RFR process. Probably the biggest one is just a further level of detail on the Nantucket standby, and how that, and capturing and making sure that we're able to maintain that process in the new system.
Okay, thanks for the explanation. So that actually makes me feel more to say that it's important that we have an additional line item somewhere that is additional customization fees in the budget, because we're still early on in the process of discovery. And history has shown us that we're going to have new things that we're going to want. Either the customers ask for it or internal management ask for it. And that's not in this budget right now.
Okay.
I don't know what that number is, and we can work on that offline, but I think it'd be, going back to Peter's comment, is, we don't want to be nickel and dime to also when you wake up to another $100,000 worth of customization. Or the other thing is you just want to evaluate whether or not this is worth doing. So if we come up with something that we want, but the DIA comes back and says it's going to cost us $80,000, well, we need to know that. So,
And circling back to the first question of the spend for a DIA.
yeah,
So up top is the licensing total per year,
yeah,
broken down by the license fees, the renewal fees, hosting fees, licensing for Power BI analytics, the combined tier supports, and then the application management fee. So the total of rows 9 through 22 equal this dollar amount here.
which one's here? That,
So the total of, let me go to 2026, these here
yeah,
are matching this 950.
okay.
So that'll be a cash outlay, but the income statement will be different because the way the software is being treated over the course of the life of the software. And then the implementation costs are down here in this area. So we have the setup analysis, solution design, the integrations, the configurations. Those two combined are equal to the just under 2.5 million I mentioned earlier for the implementation.
Got it. So like F is the customization of the 352
Yep.
first year.
Yep. And then you can see D is the configurations, where we have about, 550,000 roughly. 500, yeah. Right here, these
Okay,
two.
Yep, yep.
And then we have integrations here of roughly 500,000. Testing UAT, almost 400,000. Go live support of 93,000 and training of 33,000.
Given our history of doing budgets, I would argue that it's more important that we have some line item for each year.
Mhm.
In addition to what I already shared is that we are going to, in my mind, have change orders,
Mhm.
to put it simply. That's just me. I don't want to be the only
Yeah,
one.
I was gonna say I'm a little surprised we haven't budgeted go live support and user training for at least 2027.
So
If we're
this is a Diaz. I'm sorry, Peter. This is a Diaz
oh
cost.
the Adias cuts. All
This
right.
is what they put in their bid for clarification. This is strictly a Diaz
Okay.
numbers. And that's a breakdown of that 5.778 million. That's where the number comes out to.
Okay.
Okay, so Sean, if you can pull up that other PowerPoint, please.
Yeah. So page 2 now?
Yeah, so real summarizing that number that those breakdown the individuals equal that first line item, the 5,779 for the ADIA contract.
Okay,
All right. On the next slide, so we have third-party software, and this is still in discovery mode. So some of that one piece of software we're looking at is integrating, for instance, hazardous material software right into the system. So if someone they're carrying a petroleum product we know the UN number, we can put it right in the system, mark it with that UN number in the hazardous commodities, and also look at compatibility and loading and things of that nature. So there's software there. There's a software that we're in discovery for right now on the vehicle database. Right now, we use a vehicle database that we import to the current reservation system and drop it in. The question is looking at, do we have an interactive database pinging back and forth live on vehicle registration, or is it a database that you put the year, make, model in? So we're still in discovery on that phase. And that number could change substantially based on the model of how the software is. Project management, IT project management and support. That was brought up and approved at last month's board meeting. That is augmenting Stephen's staff and managing the IT support. Our own internal IT projects going on outside of the ADIA reservation umbrella, like the integration with the website to be released, like the integration with the shippers portal, things of that nature.
If you don't mind, Mark, I'd rather not associate that with augmentation. There's a separate line item for augmentation. It's just for project management services.
Okay. And then the ADIA project management, that was approved, I believe it was at the July 2025 board meeting on Nantucket. Gibbs is the contractor for that, and that is managing the ADIA reservation system, the PMO for that project. The change management and support, that is augmenting our staff and working on the policies, procedures, and and of that nature. That's something we're still looking at. How much more, if that number is going to probably increase, looking at as we get closer to launch and some of the resource limitations we have internally, we're going to look at needing possibly more help, for lack of a better term. And then we have training, we have in the 2026 approved operating budget, $100,000 for outside training for this project for 2026. So
This, I'm sorry.
happy to answer any questions on this slide.
Good turn.
So 1.150 is for fiscal year, calendar year.
That's from the award of the contract from ADIA to launch in we'll call it fiscal 26, end of 2026. So we should be going live on the first week of January 27.
And probably not conversation today, but we ought to look at how those costs start to come off the budget in years 27, 28, because they're not going to be needed. Or some of it will be needed, but not to that degree. And last comment is, I think your number for training is low.
That's the external cost. A lot of the personnel cost, we got to do a calculation on the internal cost.
Do you have resources internally to do this, to do training?
We're going to have to get a calculation of how much time internally we're going to need for both like overtime, and then it's a train the trainer model.
Yeah.
And just to build on that, so the project team is also right now currently really digging into the training question. Now that as part of the planning to go live, as we've been working on the project plan to go live. So probably more to come on that one.
All right.
I guess I have kind of a follow-up along with what John's asking. And I guess this is a little bit larger than this project alone, but I guess more to a question for Alex and to some extent Mark Munson. Where are we in terms of determining what additional staff we need full-time within the Steamship Authority, so that I guess, when I know there's been a lot of talk about bringing on perhaps a certified project manager internally, and comparing that to outside vendor help on future projects, both for IT and all the capital projects we have ahead of ourselves, and kind of what's the cost of that and the value versus continuing to do these vending services?
I would say there's a lot of value in bringing in staff internally, because we do outsource, not just something like that. We outsource maintenance, we outsource electrical work, a lot of stuff. So I think it's on my plate to sit down with Mark Rosem and kind of go through the budget. That's something that we've been talking about. We need to get a hard date on running through the budget, seeing what funds we have available to hire out people, and how much this outsourcing actually costs, because we can reallocate that money to internal personnel. So I don't have the answer for you right now, but I think you could put it down on the calendar that in the next couple of weeks, next week or so, Mark and I need to sit down and really kind of hash that out and figure out where we can hire people and build up our staff.
Yeah, it would seem to me, I mean, the project management is probably a priority. I also would think, given our annual training fair and the requirements of the SQMS, do we need a training specialist as well as part of our staff?
It's possible we do, yes.
Yeah, I would concur on that as well, that it's managing multiple projects in-house is easier, having someone in-house rather than having multiple people out of house.
Anyone else have comments on this part or questions?
And as we get more information on the training, we'll break up the training from outside and inside costs as well on the budget side.
Right.
All right, on the last slide. Hardware, we have scanners, fixed units, and mobile units. The mobile units have been ordered, and I believe they're on site. We have, and those will be a fixed asset and depreciated. We have network equipment, which has been ordered, and that's in progress of being installed. We have computers for the reservation clerks, ticket sellers, and support staff to be hosting the service. And those have been ordered, but they're not on site yet. So the three hardware, categories there total for about $1 million, which is out of the capital budget, and those will be depreciated over their useful life.
Mark, if I could ask, or maybe this is a Steve Coleman question. What is the anticipated useful life of this hardware? And I guess how often are we going to need to renew this capital expense?
Typically, it's a 5-year life cycle, depending on environmental factors. For example, the fixed handhelds, the fixed scanners, those are outdoors, quite harsh conditions, might be on a more aggressive timeline. Computers, those are typically 5 years. Network equipment can go a little further as long as it's under support. So at a bare minimum, in most cases, 5 years.
And is this something that will be replacing every 5 years, or can it be phased in replacements so we're not hitting a $1 million hardware replacement every year plus the inflation?
Yeah, that's always a challenge when you buy it in bulk on one day. But yes, you definitely want to start. You probably want to start in a lot of cases year 4, so you're getting ahead of it. Extend it out to 6. That way you get a 3-year cycle with 2 to go. Traditionally, I brought this to the board, I think a year or 2 ago. You're doing a 20% replacement per year to cover the 5 years. Additionally, I just want to add, because I overlooked it, the handhelds, of course, those could always be replaced due to damage, due to, water damage, dropped in water, dropped on the ground. So, you can never tell with like a handheld, but typically that's probably like a 3-year timeline, more often than not.
Yeah. Historically, it's been, Peter, 5 years, and then we do 20%. Just like the buses, for example, 12-year life cycle, we have 24 buses, we do 2 a year of replacement.
I mean, the good thing is, Peter, we bought the ruggedized containers for the handhelds. So hopefully with such a large, complex, highly visible and universal project such as this, we get the adoption and the education that end user communities require to kind of keep those environmental factors in the forefront of their mind. So we got a longer lifespan out of them. And the nice thing is, it's part of this project, we're replacing UPSs. So even that extends the life of a lot of the hardware that today has a far shorter lifespan than we would like.
John, you have a question?
Yeah, it goes back to the previous slide, question for Mark Rosen. Mark, where is the payment processing fees software?
The payment processing fees is already in the operating budget. So that's, and if you look in the business summary, it's under credit card fees.
Okay.
So that shouldn't change system to system because we're using the same processor. Actually expecting a little bit of a savings once we cut over all the way to shift 4. And then the last item there is the additional infrastructure. We talked about it the previous time we talked about the budget that the majority of that number is some of the internal IT, wiring in the building, network cabling, things of that nature, that whether we had this project or not was due. There are other things that we have coming up, some of the cabling at the terminals, some of the replacements of the booths, things of that nature that are due to be coming due. And that didn't sound very well, but we'll be bringing those numbers on the additional infrastructure that are it's related to the project, but it's not directly to the reservation system.
Is this, oh, go ahead first, John.
So in total, it's this 9 million, oh, well, let's call it $10 million. Like Peter mentioned earlier, what we want to do is how was that spent over what period of time?
Sure.
When we get ready to take it to the port council and to the board?
Yep. 8 million of it roughly is going to be spent by 2026, end of 2026 through capital and operating. And then roughly $2 million in operating expenses from 27 and beyond. About 2.2 million. In that slide I showed you about the license fees.
Yeah.
It's 2.2 million from 27 and beyond. The rest of this is items that we're going to need in place when we launch.
So am I hearing you correctly? Of the 10 million, we're going to spend how much in the next 9
About
months?
8 million of it.
How much?
8.
Okay. All right.
I get my question. Oh, go ahead, John.
Last question, Peter, I promise. So how much of that is already in the budget?
Some of this is already in the capital budget and some is in the operating budget, and I'll shoot you an email offline. I don't have that number right in front of me.
Okay.
And Mark, so we can anticipate some of those hardware numbers Steve was just sort of walking through in sort of call them out years, right? We're going to be like, what else that we've just gone through other than hardware, are we going to see some follow-on replacement cost? Do we know that yet?
Yeah, so you'll have some infrastructure costs, as I just mentioned. We're going to be replacing the booths. You have Wi-Fi equipment. You have the hardware equipment. I just pull up the slide here for the annual costs here. You'll have some update. You'll have to maintain some of the portals and the website, but we already have website support in our budget right now. For the current website we have right now, so you'll see potentially additional costs on the just hosting services and maintaining it. But that's really about it as far as the maintaining go. And then we'll have to look at we have a phase 2 potentially coming down the road of integrating our parking lot into the system, looking at license plate readers. Let's get phase 1 launched and then get under the belt, lessons learned, and then where we want to go with phase 2.
So Mark, let's not forget we're shifting costs from current website to the new as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's just important, I think, for us to all remind ourselves and others, I guess, sort of 3 things. One, how important, a top-notch reservation system is for the functioning of the Steamship Authority. 2, how long it's been, right? And 3, what the better customer service and experience is going to be once we do this, right? Because I think maybe there are others, but those are at least 3 that I think are particularly important to keep in mind when we're absorbing that $10 million number for this project.
I agree, Gordon. And I think also the other one I would like to put on there is just employee utilization or efficiencies that, we're not wasting our time and effort on one-offs. We really now have a plan going forward where we can employees will feel empowered. They'll have the ability to be efficient and can do the job.
Yep, I think that's a good one too. Great.
And John, just let me just add that there'll be an inherent cost reduction, expenditure reduction in hardware once we go live as well, from the IT perspective.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And there'll be other benefits we have is just how quickly we have access to the data, automating using the data. You know, like we mentioned with the accounting system, having that data automatically flow right into the accounting system instead of manually doing it. So there's going to be other benefits as well. Updating the profile application, as we mentioned last month, where the customers can just put them in instead of dropping them off in person. Looking at leveraging an OCR, a character recognition to automatically update that information will be a potential huge win of saving time and more efficiency.
You know, for the group, Mark Rosem and I had some conversations about a standard general percentage for overall IT infrastructure expenses. And in general terms, it can range anywhere from 4 to 7%. That's before doing any really large technical increase or uplift. And Mark, it'd be nice to know how we fit into that general model. Not today, unless you have the numbers. I doubt you do. In our next meeting. In other words, our total spending for IT in, let's say, 23, 24, 25, and what it's going to be in 26, 27 and beyond. And how does that equate to what percentage of the overall budget does it represent?
I believe, John, for 2026 and the budget is about 4.9%.
Okay. So that falls right in line with general standards or best practices.
Yeah, I'll verify that for the next meeting, but I believe that's what it was from memory.
Okay.
And that's direct and indirect, including payroll costs.
Right.
Benefits, things of that nature. Depreciation, etc. That's all I have.
Great job.
Oh, I actually have I guess, granular question on the last slide about the additional infrastructure costs. And I'm sure there's a GASB reason for this, but why does it seem so much of a percentage of that additional infrastructure upgrade cost is operating rather than capital? And then following up, because this might answer something, how much have we had to do additions or change orders to the Woods Hole terminal because of infrastructure upgrades that we didn't anticipate now that we're moving this forward? And then what upgrades will we need, I guess, will become obsolete or redundant or have to change when we start our replacement at the Nantucket terminal? And then I guess a comment, how will this impact or influence our RFRs as we move forward on our next terminal upgrades in Nantucket?
I can take the second question first. As far as the additional infrastructure, a lot of those things are considered repairs, Peter, not capital. That's the reason why. If we take a whole booth out and put a whole new booth in, it's a replacement and that's a capital. Where if we're repairing wiring or whatever, the wire, things of that nature would be classified as a repair. And then the Woods Hole terminal, I know of one item about the UPS, but we'll get those other info we'll go through look at some of the change orders and see what's in the direct related to this project. And then for the other part, as far as the Nantucket terminal, some of the conduit and cabling is above ground and some is below ground. So depending on what's going to happen, we'll address it as it comes.
Peter, what do you see as the next steps with all this information we learned today? What do we do now?
I mean, I think with the additions that we've all kind of mentioned that we'd like to see on this dashboard, I think in addition to, just the project status update, we need to review this dashboard at every meeting moving forward that we're on. Where are we in terms of the budget and procurement? Are we seeing, project cost creep or not? So that, we meet as frequently as the board and port council, and we're all members of the board and port council, one or the other, so that, 3 weeks out of the month, we're somebody on the board and port council is looking at this so that we can stay on top of these controls. I don't know if anyone else has any other ideas with that.
Well, are we accepting this budget as we today, or is this something we want to look at again and decide on the number?
My thought is we weren't voting on it today because we've added in some line items that we want additional information. Like I want it linked to the contract, the vendor, the steamship manager, executive who's responsible for that budget and for that contract. So I think this was just a preview of what we want in addition, and we vote on it the next time.
Agreed.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give us some more time.
Clean up on our side and adding those additional items and then bring it back again. And saying that, should we be having a standard set meeting date? That we, rather than kind of ad hoc, putting in a steering committee meeting on the calendar?
I think that would be good. We can offline, maybe Alex, you and I could talk about when that might work, and then you or one of the marks can then poll the members of the committee so that we stay true to all the open meeting laws about whether or not that schedule would work.
Okay.
But ideally, I think this committee should meet before topically is presented to the port council or then to the board, because we're making, I guess, the if not expertise, the we're looking at this more granularly than the port council or the board would be. So we should be making recommendations to both the port council and to the board.
Yes. So in theory, it's the week between the port council meeting and the board meeting, I guess, would be the
Probably,
week.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gordon, you're muted. It looked like you were
Yep.
saying something.
Nope, that makes sense. Yep. I'll move what I need to move around to fit it. So
So we'll be looking at roughly the second week in April for the next meeting.
Yeah, and we probably could have a kind of the date, I would say by the end of the port council meeting tomorrow. Kind of roughly what we would suggest to everyone.
Yeah.
and you mean second full week, Mark, the beginning of the 13th?
Yeah, the second Wednesday roughly of the month, which would be
That's the week after the port council meeting.
Yeah, you probably want to have it after the board meeting, but before the next port council meeting.
Yes. Yeah, I think it needs to be before the
So,
next.
because if it's going to flow from here to the port council to the board, then you'd want to have this meeting like the fourth week of the month, prior to the first week of the month, when in theory the port council would be. So I have a gigantic calendar in front of me, so I was helpful.
Yeah.
I was looking at it while we were talking.
All right. So whatever the week between our two meetings are,
Yeah.
should be the week.
We can figure that out offline. I'm going to go. I'll be at the port council meeting tomorrow, so I mean we could preliminarily figure that out then.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I do know that I try to keep these an hour, and it's now 3:00, and we still have to have public comment. Does anyone else? We did the major thing we wanted to get through. Does anyone on the committee have anything else they want to bring up?
I just want
moment?
to say thank you to everybody that was involved in putting these numbers together. It's actually very thorough, and it wasn't criticism, it was just more critique, and thank you. That's all.
Anyone else? All right, I guess we'll open it up to public comment.
Okay, if anyone does have public comment, you can hit the raise your hand icon. Seeing none.
All right, seeing no public comment, and we've only been in meeting for 60 minutes. We started 2 minutes late. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll
Second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote. Start with Cahill.
Cahill, aye.
Carr,
All right.
Jeffrey, I, and Rainey.
Randy, aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
All right, bye.